Okay, branding strategies. So, important part of branding is that it's consistent. A brand must remain consistent. Okay, especially in the way that a brand's positioning is communicated. You can't say on the one day that, well, our car is the safest car, and then the next day say, oh no, our car is the fastest car. Which one is it? Is it the safest or is it the fastest? Because it can't be both. Okay, so it needs to be consistent. Say the same thing over and over in different ways. And some firms use something called a brand key to understand their brand. And this is an example of a brand key. As you can see, number 1 says competitive environment, target, insight. And then in the center of the key is essence. And the other things around that essence are things like benefits, reasons to believe, and so on and so forth. But you will study branding in much more detail in your second year of studies or in further studies. Okay, now we're going to look at some of the major branding decisions, and these are the types of strategies that you do need to know. You need to know the different types of brands that you get, and as you can see over here, you can choose not to brand. The pink one on the right, you can choose not to brand your product. You struggle to sell it, possibly, because people won't be able to tell, okay, is this your product, what's the quality, who is it different to, and so forth. So usually it's a good idea to brand. But then you can have a manufacturer brand or a private brand. A manufacturer brand is the brand that is owned by a manufacturer. And there are 3 different manufacturer brands: individual, family, and combination. And there are 2 different private brands: individual and family. And we're going to look at each one now individually. So generic product versus a branded product. We're first going to look at the first level, generic versus branded. Generic meaning it's like a no-name brand, basically. Okay, it's a no-frills brand. It's a very low-cost product, nothing special. It's simply identified by its category. So, for example, there on the right-hand side you can see cola. It's not any specific brand's cola. It's just cola, and it's made by Home Brand, which is just probably the name of the shop that they buy it from. But Coca-Cola is made by the Coca-Cola company, and it's a very specifically branded product. Okay, the one on the right is called a generic. Generic just means it's a basic, average, general product in that category, in the cola drink category. And they're usually identified by plain, simple lettering, as you can see there, with white packaging. Okay, nothing special. An example is the Pick n Pay no-name brand. As you can see, white packaging, very simple. It just says cooking chocolate and tomato soup. Nothing special. And the idea is that it's cheaper and that it's no marketing. There's not much marketing and advertising spent on these products, and that's what makes them a bit cheaper as well. Because it costs money for Coca-Cola, for example, to advertise their brand. So Pick n Pay doesn't advertise their no-name brand, and except in the store, of course. Okay, the main appeal is the lower price. They're sometimes 30 to 40% cheaper than the manufacturer's brands in the same category. Okay, then you have a manufacturer's brands versus private brands. Okay, these are now the branded products, of course. So the manufacturer's brands are brands like Kodak or Koo baked beans, for example. There we go. This is the owner of the brand. Private brands are brands that are owned by the retailer. Okay, we got the manufacturer like Koo, who sells their products in a retailer like Pick n Pay or Checkers. So a private brand is those that are owned by the retailers. So in this case, Farm Girl, I believe, is owned by Checkers. So that would be considered a private brand. Okay, Pick n Pay is not selling other people's brands. They're selling their own brand of baked beans. Okay, then we have individual and family brands. Okay, individual brands use different brand names for different products. And this is to differentiate between the different types of quality and performance of the products. Okay, yeah, as I said there, it wouldn't make sense to have the same type of name, brand name, for a cricket bat and a pair of socks. That's just weird. Okay? So, for example, Unilever uses different brands of soap. Did you know that there's one company that owns all 5 of those soap brands? Yep, Unilever owns all 5 of those soap brands. But it doesn't seem so to the customer. The customer just sees it as Dove and Lux and Breeze and Sunlight. But actually, Unilever owns all 5 of them and has created different brands for different target markets. Quite clever. And there you can see some of the other Unilever products. This is all one company owns all these branded products. Axe, Surf, Dove, Marmite, Domestos, Pond's, Vaseline, Cornetto, Rama, Flora, right? Rama and Flora, can you see that? Same company owns 2 different brands for 2 different target markets. It's the power of branding. Okay, then we have a family brand. And this is when all the different products have the same brand name. So Samsung, for example, is one brand and they have the same name on all their different types of products like TVs and phones and fridges and computers and video cameras and so on and so forth. Okay, they don't have different brand names for each of the products. They have the same brand name. It's a family brand. Okay, and then we have co-branding. This is when you combine the brands of 2 big brands or 2 powerful brands, and then you can enhance the awareness of both brands exponentially. So sometimes this is a once-off thing, like movie sometimes brand with yogurts for kids, and some are permanent, like Simba and the Mrs. Ball's chutney flavor. It's a permanent branding or co-branding, and Wimpy and Engine is another permanent one. There are some negatives to it though. If one of the brands does something stupid, the other brand will also suffer. So for example, if Wimpy does something stupid, Engine will certainly suffer. And there's just an example of the co-branding that took place between the Nokia Lumia, I think it was, and the Superman Man of Steel movie. Okay, and then lastly, the levels of brand familiarity. You get something called brand rejection, and this is where people don't buy certain brands at all. Like some smokers, they completely reject certain cigarette brands. This is brand non-recognition. That's when people aren't even aware of your brand. They don't even know that it exists. Then you get brand recognition. That's when people are aware of your brand. Brand preference. That's when people usually buy that specific brand. And then brand insistence. I must have this brand, otherwise I'll die. Right? I can't have anything else. Okay, and that is the end of that.